Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Cowboys fight off teams to sign all UFL league leader in upside move. Report. The Dallas Cowboys are adding one of the UFL's top players as linebacker Willie Harvey Jr. is heading to Big D. The Cowboys hosted Harvey for a June 11, 2024 workout, and the front office appears to have liked what they saw. Dallas was not the only team interested in Harvey, as NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reported that other franchises were in the mix as well. All UFL LB Willie Harvey Jr. plans to sign with the Cowboys. Per source, Pelissero detailed in a series of June 18 messages on X, Harvey had interest from several other teams, but last week's workout with Dallas went well, and now he'll be signing once his UFL release is official. It may not be a splashy signing for the Cowboys, but there is plenty to like about adding Harvey. For starters, Dallas could use depth at linebacker. Harvey is coming off an impressive season with the St. Louis Battlehawks. The defender led the league with 76 tackles and added 4 sacks in 2024. Harvey's play also earned him all UFL honors in 2024. The Dallas Cowboys have had some success finding key players from other leagues. The Cowboys have had success in the past turning to other leagues to land sleepers, including versatile returner Kayvontae Turpin. Harvey has NFL experience spending time with the Cleveland Browns prior to joining the UFL. The Cowboys have had some success in this area the last couple of years, signing Kayvontae Turpin and then Brandon Aubrey after they had been in the USFL. The Athletic's John Makota detailed in a June 18 message on X, the Dallas Cowboys are being crushed for their quiet NFL offseason. It will likely not surprise Cowboys fans to learn that the franchise is being criticized for a quiet offseason. ESPN's Seth Walder ranked the Cowboys offseason as the number 30 team out of 32 franchises, earning a dismal D+. In fact, their most notable offseason move was not signing wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, linebacker Micah Parsons, or Prescott to new deals, Walder detailed in a June 18 article titled 2024 NFL Offseason, Grading Moves, Changes for All 32 Teams. The last is the most problematic. Prescott cannot be franchise tagged after this season, which means if the Cowboys do not sign him to a new deal, he could enter next offseason as a true free agent. If Dallas is having second thoughts about Prescott based on how the 2023 season ended, it shouldn't. Prescott finished second in QBR and was an MVP candidate up until the end. The Cowboys are fortunate to have a franchise QB and shouldn't risk losing him, Walder added. Quote, ellipsis, the Cowboys let offensive tackle Tyron Smith walk to the Jets for cheap, just $6.5 million fully guaranteed. And while they have other players who can play tackle, Terrence Steele, Chuma Edoga, Tyler Smith, and first-round pick Tyler Guyton, Smith is coming off a strong season and could have been an asset for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. It will be interesting to see if Dallas makes more moves as training camp nears. For now, the Cowboys have had an underwhelming offseason after making an early exit in the postseason. Cowboys sign ex-Raiders $10 million first-round pick after 4-year layoff. The Dallas Cowboys finally signed a former first-round pick, but it may not be the one fans were awaiting. The Cowboys signed former Las Vegas Raiders cornerback Conley. Dallas announced the news in addition to the signing of all-UFL linebacker Willie Harvey Jr. One of the interesting things about this move is that Conley has not taken an NFL snap since the 2019 NFL playoffs. Conley spent the final part of the 2019 season with the Houston Texans after being dealt by the Raiders at the mid-season trade deadline. The cornerback last took an NFL snap for the Texans in the postseason on January 12, 2020. If Conley ends up making the Cowboys' final roster and takes a snap this season, it will mark more than 4 years since the defender played in the NFL. Conley is not exactly joining the Cowboys from off the couch. The veteran played in the UFL this season for the DC Defenders. Conley posted 25 tackles and 2 interceptions this season, which was tied for 5th in the league. New Cowboys corner Conley was the number 24 pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. As evidenced by the near 5-year layoff, Conley's NFL career did not go exactly as planned. After a standout collegiate tenure at Ohio State, the Raiders selected Conley in the first round with the number 24 overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. Conley inked a 4-year, $10.4 million rookie deal with the Raiders, but was unable to land a second contract. The corner's best statistical season came in 2018 when Conley posted 3 interceptions, 37 tackles, 15 pass deflection, and a touchdown. Heading into the NFL, Conley drew lofty comparisons with NFL.com's Lance Zierlein, seeing shades of 5-time Pro Bowler Aqib Talib in his game. Press corner with experience at both cornerback spots and an ability to fit into a variety of coverage techniques. Zierlein wrote in his pre-draft profile of Conley, "He plays with good top-end speed and has the ball skills to challenge and defend passes on any level. He can step in right away in zone coverage, but could struggle to match patterns from a pedal. He will likely be targeted by teams seeking long cornerbacks who can crowd and trail receivers down the field. He has the talent to become an early starter, but he must improve in run support." Garin Conley is now reunited with former Raiders defensive coordinator Paul Guenther. Conley's move to the Cowboys reunites the corner with his former defensive coordinator Paul Guenther, who is now the Dallas defensive run game coordinator. It will be worth watching to see if Conley is able to make the team's final roster. Cowboys announced they signed CB Garin Conley along with LB Willie Harvey. The Dallas Morning News' Michael Gelkin detailed in a June 18th message on X, Raiders drafted Conley in the 2017 first round. Paul Guenther, the Dallas defense's run game coordinator, was his DC in Oakland in 2018-19. The addition of Harvey is also notable given his accolades in the UFL. Harvey led the league in tackles and was named to the All-UFL team.
Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Proposed trade has Cowboys reunite with former $22 million receiver. The Dallas Cowboys could use an upgrade when it comes to their depth at the wide receiver position. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox proposed a trade scenario that would see the Cowboys reunite with one of Dak Prescott's former targets, Cedric Wilson Jr. The 28-year-old is currently a member of the New Orleans Saints after signing a 2-year deal with the NFC team this offseason. However, as Knox mentions, the Saints have a pretty stacked core at wide receiver, with established players such as Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, along with Equanimous Street Brown and youngsters such as second-year man A.T. Perry and fifth-round pick Bub Means. That could lead to Wilson having a difficult time finding a spot on the roster, and that could lead to a trade before the season starts. If the Saints deem Wilson expendable by the end of camp, they could look to acquire some draft capital and $1.4 million in 2024 cap space by trading him, Knox wrote. If that happens, Dallas should be very interested. Cedric Wilson's career has declined since leaving Cowboys. Wilson enjoyed the best season of his 5-year career during the 2021 season while serving in the number 3 role for the Cowboys. It was during that season that Wilson posted 45 receptions for 602 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, all career highs. However, Wilson would then sign a 3-year, $22.8 million deal with the Miami Dolphins during the 2022 offseason, with the expectation that he would play a major role alongside Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. However, Wilson found himself buried on the depth chart, posting just 12 receptions for 136 receiving yards during his first season in Miami. His second season was slightly better, but he was still low on the pecking order for Dolphins receivers. He posted the 7th most receptions of any player on Miami's roster, 22 receptions, and finishing the season with 296 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Why Cowboys would benefit from Cedric Wilson trade. Returning to Dallas when they're lacking experienced and proven receivers beyond veterans CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks would likely mean Wilson would return to the number 3 role and give him a chance to revive his career. Wilson spent the first 4 years and 3 seasons of his career. He was on injured reserve as a rookie with Prescott and the Cowboys and had a breakout campaign in 2021, writes Knox. He had 45 catches, 602 yards, and 6 touchdowns that season as Dallas' number 3 receiver. With this theoretical trade, he could return to that role in 2024. The Cowboys' current receivers behind Lamb and Cooks are Jalen Tolbert, Kayvontae Turpin, and sixth-round rookie Ryan Flournoy. Those receivers have a combined total of 37 receptions for 416 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns during their careers, with just 7 total starts. In other words, the Cowboys are banking on inexperienced and unproven receivers to replace veteran Michael Gallup, who was released in the offseason. Considering Wilson hasn't had a productive season in years, and when factoring in that New Orleans may not have much of a use for him, the Cowboys could acquire him for a low draft pick, such as a 6th-round selection or a 7th-round pick, if a trade were to come to fruition. Dallas Cowboys insider gives jaw-dropping update on Dak Prescott's contract demands following Trevor Lawrence deal. The Dallas Cowboys have put themselves in a tough position. Dallas has become one of the strangest anomalies in the NFL since Dak Prescott took over as the starting QB in 2016. Season after season, Prescott performs as well as the top quarterbacks in the NFL for the first 17 games, but chokes in the playoffs and the Cowboys have an early exit. But last year felt different. Mike McCarthy took over play calling after parting ways with Kellen Moore, and the offense exploded. Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, who earned first-team All-Pro honors in 2023, emerged as the top QB in the NFL. Dak Prescott finished the regular season as a strong MVP candidate after wrapping up one of the best campaigns of his NFL career. The Dallas Cowboys QB led the NFL in several key categories with 4,516 passing yards, third, 36 touchdowns, first, 9 interceptions, and a QBR of 72.7, second in the NFL. So when the end of the season came, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys brass found themselves in an all-too-familiar position. With Prescott nearing the end of his last major contract extension, Dallas has to either sign him to a new long-term deal or let him play out the final year of his contract, giving him all the leverage following the 2024 campaign. Despite his postseason struggles, Prescott is ranked by PFF as the number 6 QB in the NFL heading into 2024. Only Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes are ranked ahead of him. His 89.8 passing grade in the regular season ranked second only to Tua Tagovailoa. His 73.5 passing grade under pressure was number 1. His 37 big-time throws in the regular season were the most in the NFL, and his 2.0% turnover-worthy play rate was the lowest among quarterbacks with at least 400 dropbacks. Prescott was efficient, aggressive, and accurate, albeit with a poor showing to end the year. So now, Jerry Jones and the Dallas decision-makers have a massive decision on their hands, but Prescott holds all the power. Now that Trevor Lawrence just inked a deal that is paying him the same kind of money Joe Burrow is getting, Prescott's price tag only got higher. Lawrence is currently ranked number 12 on PFF's QB list heading into 2024. Dallas Cowboys insider reveals Dak Prescott's asking price has gone up. If Jones and company were smart, they would have inked Prescott to an extension right after the season that would have freed up salary cap space to add new talent, and the Cowboys would have likely gotten Prescott at a bargain. Instead, Jones didn't make a move, and just like the current situation with CeeDee Lamb, he waited for other teams to give their players new, massive deals which raised the market and price tag he will have to pay for his top players if he wants to keep them as members of the Dallas Cowboys. A new report came out this week that Prescott had seemingly changed his mind about his contract and is now looking to break the bank after Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars agreed to a jaw-dropping 5-year, $275 million extension this week. According to Ian Rapoport of the NFL Network, Prescott is seeking a whopping $60 million per year. Prescott could be looking for a significant payday as Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow both make $55 million per year. The dynamic passer signed his last deal ahead of the 2021 season, meaning he's looking at free agency after this season if he and the Dallas Cowboys cannot come to terms on a new deal. There will be no shortage of suitors who want to bring in Prescott as their franchise QB after 2024 and will pay him what he's asking, regardless of how he plays this season. Prescott now holds all the power, and he has the choice to ink a deal with Dallas if the Cowboys are willing to make him the highest paid QB in the NFL, or likely handpick his next team, as there will be at least 5 to 6 suitors, if not more, attempting to sign him and give him a major payday after this season. Have you ever watched police body cam videos? I'm sure you'll like the video that appears on the screen. Click and subscribe to Sheriff Smith.
Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Freaky trade proposal sends NFL All-Pro WR to Broncos. There's an epidemic of disgruntled wide receivers going around the NFL, and the Denver Broncos haven't been immune. Their star wideout, Cortland Sutton, sat out OTAs over a contract dispute before returning for minicamp. Another team with even bigger wide receiver issues is the Dallas Cowboys, who have yet to grant two-time NFL All-Pro CeeDee Lamb a contract extension which could rival the record-setting 4-year, $140 million contract extension for Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. In a mind-melting trade proposal, predominantly Orange's Lou Scatalia suggests trading Lamb to the Broncos for Sutton, a 2025 first-round pick and 2026 second-round pick. Let's get super freaky right off the bat, Scatalia wrote. You could argue that the one thing missing from the Denver Broncos offense currently is a true WR1. Well, you can't get much better than CeeDee Lamb, who seems very unhappy that he does not have a contract extension from the Dallas Cowboys, who have totally botched this offseason. It is a high price, but it's what the top of the WR market is at now. The Denver Broncos would likely have to part with valuable draft capital to make this deal go down. Perhaps multiple draft picks and a player, like I've proposed above. Would Cortland Sutton, a first and a second-round pick, be enough? Lamb unstoppable through first 3 seasons. The idea of adding Lamb to their roster falls squarely in the wildest dreams category for any NFL fan, since the Cowboys selected Lamb out of Oklahoma as the number 17 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. He's been arguably the NFL's best wide receiver. Lamb's receiving yardage has gone up each of his 4 seasons and heads into 2024 coming off 3 consecutive seasons over 1,000 receiving yards. He had 935 receiving yards as a rookie in 2020. Lamb's 2023 season was one for the ages as he led the NFL with 135 receptions to go with 1,749 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. He's also been named a Pro Bowler each of the last 3 seasons. Lamb signed a 4-year, $14.01 million rookie contract in 2020, and after the Cowboys picked up his 5th-year option in 2023, he's scheduled to make approximately $17.9 million in 2024. Sutton last Denver WR to pass 1,000 receiving yards. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox projected how Jefferson's deal could impact the NFL wide receiver market, and projects the Broncos will end up granting Sutton's wish with a 2-year, $35 million contract extension, with $25 million guaranteed. That is, if he's not traded. Sutton is still the last Denver player to pass 1,000 receiving yards in a single season, which he did in 2019 on the way to earning his lone Pro Bowl spot. Broncos receiver Cortland Sutton, whose lone 1,000-yard campaign came back in 2019, is a tier or 2 below every other player on this list, Knox wrote. However, he has to be mentioned because he is held out of off-season workouts in an effort to gain a new contract. The good news for Denver, which is working to develop rookie quarterback Bo Nix, is that its top receiver isn't actually seeking number 1 receiver money. 4 reasons why the Cowboys should keep Demarcus Lawrence around a little longer. The Dallas Cowboys have a lot of business to do, as 3 of their biggest stars are coming to the end of their contracts. Extending Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and eventually Micah Parsons are all important moves the front office needs to get done so the team can stay competitive for years to come. While it's hard to find more valuable players than the big 3, another guy on the team is almost as valuable and happens to have an expiring contract coming as well. That guy is Demarcus Lawrence. Lawrence has played 10 seasons in the league, and even still, people aren't sure what to make of him. For some fans, he's one of the most underrated players in the game, as he's always getting his hands dirty and coming up with big plays. His contributions don't go unnoticed by broadcasters, as they have been singing his praise for years. It's hard to make it through a game without someone talking about how valuable he is. Others have a different perspective. After the 2018 season, Lawrence was coming off 2 straight double-digit sack seasons and was rewarded handsomely with a 5-year, $105 million deal. This made him the 2nd highest-paid edge rusher in the league, behind only Khalil Mack. Suddenly, expectations were raised. Lawrence has since played 5 seasons, and in those 5 collective years, he still has fewer total sacks than he did during that 2-year stretch that helped him get paid. He's a good player, but some quickly remind us he is not an elite sack master. 2 years ago, these two sides came together when Lawrence agreed to a reduced salary to remain with the team. It consisted of a new 3-year, $40 million deal with $30 million guaranteed. The Cowboys have already paid him his guaranteed money, with the only thing left is his $10 million base salary for the upcoming season. Even without the unspectacular sack numbers, Lawrence is coming off 2 consecutive Pro Bowl seasons. He's widely known as one of the best run-stopping defensive ends in the game, and most would agree that he's an absolute bargain. Whether you own stock in Tank Inc. early or late, it's pretty clear that he's a valuable asset. Lawrence will be an unrestricted free agent next year, and what's next for him is unknown, but he hinted around last week that he has no interest in hanging things up and could play another 5 years. The thinking for some might be that Lawrence would play out the remainder of his contract in Dallas, and then the team would replace him with younger players. After all, they selected a run-stopping defensive end in the second round of April's draft, the same round they got Lawrence in 10 years ago. However, there might be a better option, and that option would be keeping him around a little longer. Here are 4 reasons why this makes sense. He's still really good. Lawrence has been north of 30 years of age for 2 years and shows no signs of slowing down. One of the big reasons for this is that he's a fundamentalist. Don't get me wrong, the strength and athleticism are there, but he's so refined that he can maximize his skills to get great results. Lawrence always has a plan. How many times have we seen him dart into the backfield untouched? He has great play awareness, is quick off the snap, and aggressively attacks the ball carrier. He possesses elite hand techniques. Whether it's the cross chop or counter club, he's always attacking the hands of the blocker, and he uses his quickness and power to toss blockers aside. He's resilient, oddly enough. There was a time when this guy was labeled as injury-prone. That's because early in his career, he struggled to stay healthy. Broken feet and back issues have certainly been a thing for him. He missed half the year in 2 of his first 3 seasons in the league. That's not a good start. But would you believe that Lawrence has since played a full season in 6 of the last 7 years? And that includes 40 straight games spanning over the last 2.5 seasons. Injuries happen, but Lawrence has surprisingly been able to stay on the field most of the time over the last several years. His nickname is Tank, for crying out loud. He's the epitome of toughness. He's a high-character guy. It's so crazy to think that Lawrence was once viewed as being a character concern, but he was. It might be a big reason he slid within striking distance of the 2014 NFL Draft. Lawrence's path wasn't filled with sunshine and rainbows. He had to play for Butler Community College, which he mentions in his game intros, because of academic issues. He was suspended multiple times at Boise State for disciplinary reasons and violating team rules. You couldn't read a draft profile back in 2014 without pundits mentioning that scouts would need to investigate his character.
Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Cowboys aiming to finalize Dak Prescott extension before CeeDee Lamb. With minicamp now in the books, the period leading up to Cowboys training camp will be dominated by progress on extension talks for Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. The latter is under contract for 2 more years, so he is not as pressing of a financial priority this summer. Prescott has firmly remained in Dallas plans beyond the 2024 campaign, one in which he is set to carry a cap hit of $55.13. With no tag and no trade clauses in his deal, last season's MVP runner-up has plenty of leverage in a potential bid to reach the top of the quarterback market. A report from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler earlier this month indicated the Cowboys are set to make a strong offer to keep Prescott in the fold. To little surprise, that has placed the 30-year-old at the top of the pecking order in terms of lucrative Dallas extensions. Fowler noted in a recent SportsCenter appearance that the Cowboys want to work out the Prescott Accord before those of Lamb and Parsons. Video link. Such an approach would come as little surprise, considering the respective cap situations of the 3 players and the nature of the quarterback as opposed to receiver and edge rush markets. Prescott is a candidate to set a new standard in terms of annual average compensation on his next deal. Both Joe Burrow, Bengals, and Trevor Lawrence, Jaguars, are currently at $55 mm in that regard. The former fourth-rounder has publicly stated that his latest round of negotiations will not be as centered on finances as the last one, and the extent to which that holds true will be a key factor in this process. As Fowler confirms, the Cowboys have not yet aggressively engaged in extension talks with Prescott. If that continues for the time being, Lamb will be left to wait for serious negotiations of his own. The three-time Pro Bowler did not take part in OTAs or mandatory minicamp as he continues to seek out an extension. Lamb has seen Justin Jefferson reset the top of the receiver market with his $35 per year Vikings pact, and his own value could be similar. Given the surge in lucrative receiver pacts signed by other top producers at the position recently, Lamb will have significant leverage after any potential Prescott deal is hammered out. Of course, new agreements for either member of that pair will have to be made with Parsons in mind as well. Under contract in 2025 via his fifth-year option, Parsons is aiming to usurp Jefferson as the league's top-paid non-quarterback. The resources Dallas has available to meet that goal, likely next offseason, will largely depend on the progress made with Prescott and Lamb in that order during the near future. Dallas Cowboys vinculado ao ex Green Bay Packers 5x All-Pro por Dak Prescott. The Dallas Cowboys are entering an important season that could very well determine the immediate future of their franchise. All-Pro wide receiver CeeDee Lamb was not at OTAs or mandatory minicamp as he awaits a new contract. While the Cowboys almost certainly want him signed for the long term, one has to wonder how the ongoing contract negotiations will affect his relationship with the organization. Franchise quarterback Dak Prescott, too, is up for a contract extension. Again, the Cowboys certainly would like to lock up the three-time Pro Bowler for the long term, but the quarterback market is going crazy right now. The Jacksonville Jaguars just gave Trevor Lawrence $55 million per season, so one has to assume that Prescott will command even more, perhaps becoming the first player to make $60+ million per year. Head coach Mike McCarthy also has some serious questions regarding his future with the Cowboys. After a 1-3 record in the NFL playoffs since his arrival, Dallas is not sure if he is the right man for the job going forward. He enters the 2024 NFL season as a lame duck head coach, needing a deep postseason run and/or a Super Bowl win to earn a second contract with the team. The Dallas Cowboys offense has some holes. The Cowboys have some excellent players on offense, including Prescott and Lamb. In addition to these all-pro level players, they have Brandon Cooks at wide receiver, Jake Ferguson at tight end, and the legendary Zach Martin at right guard. However, they also lost some notable players to free agency as well. Left tackle Tryon Smith signed with the New York Jets. Currently, the Cowboys plan on replacing the future Hall of Fame left tackle with rookie Tyler Guyton. This is a tremendous risk for a team that, in essence, does not have a true primary running back. Ezekiel Elliott may be back, but McCarthy has stated they are going to utilize the running back by committee strategy, and may be about to give their quarterback the largest contract in the history of the NFL. Guyton could very well turn out to be a special player, but given the state of the Cowboys and the numerous questions surrounding their biggest names, it may be wise for Dallas to find some more experience on the offensive line to protect their investments. Dallas Cowboys insider suggests they sign former Green Bay Packers left tackle David Bakhtiari. In a recent article written for Cowboys Wire, Dallas insider Reed Hansen suggests that David Bakhtiari would be a good depth. For years, Bakhtiari was the gold standard at the left tackle position. If there was one player who could rival the Cowboys' Tyron Smith as best in the league, it was him. Bakhtiari, 32, was the only player in the NFL to earn first or second team All-Pros in every season between 2016 to 2020. He was an elite run blocker and pass protector, and frequently played on an island protecting for a quarterback who wasn't afraid to improvise behind him. Moving Smith from guard to LT isn't an ideal solution if Guyton struggles, and there's no telling if Woletsko or Richards would be better than a struggling Steele. Having a veteran like Bakhtiari available in relief would be far more comforting. There is the question of Bakhtiari's health. He has, after all, played in just 13 games over the past 3 seasons. seasons. However, doctors say his knee is recovering and he will be ready with no limitations by the time training camp starts. He could not say that in any of the past 3 seasons. Bakhtiari also has a history with Coach McCarthy, who was with the Packers when he was drafted. Of the 5 All-Pro teams that Bakhtiari made, McCarthy was his head coach for 3 of them. Additionally, it is not like it will cost Dallas much to sign Bakhtiari. Coming off of 3 injury-plagued seasons, he will not command more than a minimum contract. It would be a low-risk, high-reward situation. Micah-McCarthy relationship is thriving in 2024. This offseason has thus far been one dominated by talk of the CeeDee Lamb holdout, though Micah Parsons did find himself a part of the conversation when he opted to train outside of the building before eventually reporting to the Dallas Cowboys for mandatory minicamp in early June, something head coach Mike McCarthy was completely fine with. McCarthy noted, time and again, that both Lamb and Parsons remained engaged the entire time, and the latter was also in the building on more than one occasion for various reasons, e.g., meetings. It's a relationship between head coach and generational player that has blossomed over the past 3 seasons, as Parsons recently explained. "Oh man, me and Coach McCarthy are super well," said the 3-time first-team All-Pro pass rusher. Parsons spoke in great depth during minicamp regarding team chemistry and his role in it, and it appears the topic has been broached by McCarthy as well, and the two are on the same page. "We met for an hour or so just the other week," Parsons said. "I don't think people understand just how much more McCarthy is invested in me and becoming a leader, and how he thinks I value the team and where we're headed. I think McCarthy is really good, and I really value our conversations and our relationship growing more as he's been here. And I think that's very powerful to me." Prior to this offseason, it was more often Dan Quinn, former Cowboys defensive coordinator turned Washington Commanders head coach, who was the support column for Parsons, but with that having changed for 2024, he and McCarthy find themselves having grown that much closer ahead of one of the most pivotal seasons in franchise history, and the most pivotal for Parsons' young, dynamic career. As contract talks loom on the horizon, he's taken on the challenge of, when Dan Quinn left, to be that voice for me, and I really appreciate that, said Parsons. Up next for the Deepen Connection is training camp in Oxnard, set to begin the week of July 22nd and extending to August 22nd, marking the longest camp in Cowboys history. And if Parsons can continue to level up his play and to take the next step in helping to potentially lead the Cowboys to the end of their infamous Super Bowl drought, it will in part be due to what is blossoming between him and his head coach.
Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Free agent CB Stephon Gilmore still waiting for the right opportunity ahead of year 13. Waves of free agency have come and washed away. Stephon Gilmore remains looking for a team, but heading into his age 34 season, the veteran cornerback is comfortable taking his time. Being patient right now, Gilmore said Wednesday at the red carpet of Tom Brady's Patriots Hall of Fame ceremony, per MassLive.com. "I feel good year 13, been playing a long time, so I'm just being patient and waiting for the right opportunity." Gilmore's career has trended nomadic in the past 3 years. After splitting his first 9.5 NFL campaigns between the Bills and Patriots, he spent a half season with the Panthers in 2021 before donning Colts and Cowboys colors for a year each. His finest seasons were for Buffalo and New England, especially 2016 with the Bills, when he collected 5 interceptions to reach his first Pro Bowl, and his 2019 Defensive Player of the Year season with the Pats, in which he had a league-leading 6 picks and made first-team All-Pro a second straight time. But he's played admirably at every stop, a football mercenary capable of delivering poise and composure to a secondary. He made a Pro Bowl for Carolina, his 5th overall despite playing just 9 games, and had 2 interceptions and a then career-high 66 tackles for Indianapolis. He followed that up in 2023 with another 2-interception season while logging 68 tackles to reset his career high in Dallas. Now he waits to contribute his services again. At number 16, Gilmore is the highest-ranked player remaining on Greg Rosenthal's top 101 free agents. He sports 140 career passes defensed, and his 31 interceptions are sixth most among active players. With organized team activities and minicamps over, it's possible a team will sign him in the window before training camp. Suitors might also later look to him should an injury occur, either in practice or a preseason contest. That's the waiting game aging vets play, even successful ones, as evidenced by 3 of the players ahead of him on the active int list also being available. Given his presence at Brady's Patriots Hall of Fame ceremony, the question of a reunion with New England did arise. Although the two parties experienced a contentious end, and Gilmore noted he's not had contact with the Pats this offseason, he didn't squash such a possibility. "You never know," he said. "I'll weigh any options. This is a place that I played great ball, so just letting it play out how it's going to be." Be it New England or elsewhere, Gilmore's track record suggests he still has plenty to offer wherever he winds up next. Proposed trade sees Cowboys flip CeeDee Lamb for $60 million receiver. The Dallas Cowboys would be an ideal landing spot for a wide receiver who may not be destined to be with his current team for much longer. As Bleacher Report's Derek Clausen writes, a potential trade candidate is none other than Denver Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton. The argument is simple. The Cowboys need another receiver in the room, and acquiring another one would give Dallas the flexibility to use CeeDee Lamb in a variety of spots, including his old slot role. If the Cowboys want to continue to lean on Lamb from the slot and use his outside capabilities as a changeup, they can go get another outside receiver to let him still play from the slot, writes Clausen. Either way, the Cowboys need a new body in the receiver room. Both Courtland Sutton and CeeDee Lamb seeking new contracts. Sutton, who is coming off of his best season in years, is seeking a contract extension with 2 years remaining on his deal as part of his 4-year $60 million deal. However, both Sutton and the Broncos are currently at a contract stalemate. Lamb is actually facing a similar situation with the Cowboys, where he's seeking a new deal as he enters the final year of his rookie contract. The 3-time Pro Bowl receiver stayed away from mandatory minicamp recently as he seeks a new contract. In an alternate scenario, when considering the Cowboys' current stalemate situation with Lamb, they could instead flip him for another starting receiver, such as Sutton. In a trade scenario proposed by Fansided's Lou Scatalia, the Cowboys would deal Lamb in exchange for Sutton, a 2025 first-round pick and a 2026 second-round pick. The 3-time Pro Bowler just watched his WR brethren Justin Jefferson sign a deal worth $35 million per season, writes Scatalia. Well, any team who extends Lamb may have to beat that number, believe it or not. It is a high price, but it's what the top of the WR market is at now. The Denver Broncos would likely have to part with valuable draft capital to make this deal go down, perhaps multiple draft picks and a player, like I've proposed above. Would Courtland Sutton, a first and a second-round pick, be enough? Courtland Sutton could be next best potential replacement for CeeDee Lamb. The two receivers couldn't be any more different from how they play on the field and from a pure size standpoint. Lamb is 6'2" and 200 pounds, while Sutton is 6'4" and 215 pounds. Lamb has the flexibility to play in the slot and be used carrying the football. He has 43 career carries for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Sutton is a pure outside receiver who is best used when he's able to leverage his big frame in the red zone. Sutton obviously doesn't bring the production or dominant ability of Lamb. The former had 772 receiving yards in comparison to the latter's 1,749 yards, but he would be the next best option if the Cowboys did decide to part ways with Lamb, especially given Dallas' current lack of depth of wide receivers beyond Lamb and Cooks. Jalen Tolbert and Kayvontae Turpin project as the next best receivers. It would only make sense for the Cowboys to acquire another proven receiver immediately if they were forced to replace Lamb. Cowboys Insider reminds fans of important Dak Prescott financial fact. The Dallas Cowboys have seemingly been in a holding pattern this offseason as they try to figure out how to give out contract extensions to their 3 biggest stars: wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, pass rusher Micah Parsons, and quarterback Dak Prescott are soon due for extensions, and the Cowboys don't currently have a lot of flexibility under the NFL's hard salary cap they can use to extend them. On Thursday, the Jacksonville Jaguars' Trevor Lawrence secured a 5-year, $275 million extension that will pay him about $55 million a year, which will tie him with Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals for the highest annual salary in the league. To his credit, Prescott, per Clarence Hill Jr., hasn't asked for that type of money. Many have praised Prescott for his character on and off the field, and Cowboys fans have to hope that he would take some sort of reasonable discount in order to help the team retain the rest of its core. The Cowboys have had one of the NFL's most talented teams for a while now, but they have had nothing to show for it, and their fans are growing restless for some major improvements. The proud franchise has won 5 Super Bowl championships, but it hasn't won it all or even gotten to the NFC Championship game since the 1995 season. There is also the matter of Prescott's repeated failures in the playoffs, which have left some fans inclined to want Dallas to start over with a different signal caller after this coming season. Unless he gets an extension soon enough, Prescott will become a free agent in the spring of 2025.